Yes, in our last class, we stopped at standard deviation and coefficient of variation. Today, we are going to be looking at sensitivity analysis. Therefore, what do you understand by sensitivity analysis? The sensitivity analysis measures the tolerable extent to which the project NPV can accommodate any change in variables. I repeat, the sensitivity analysis measures the tolerable extent to which a project NPV can accommodate any change in variable. That is, when you talk about sensitivity analysis, which is also known as what-if analysis, it measures how sensitive a project variable is to the project NPV. How sensitive is a variable to the project's NPV? We want to know what is the percentage change in a particular variable before the project will become unviable. Say, for example, what if your initial outlay increased by 5%? Will the project still be positive? Still be viable? What if your sales value or your revenue reduced by 10%? Can the project still be viable? This is what sensitivity analysis measures. So it measures the tolerable extent to which a project NPV can accommodate any change in variables. All right, in variables. So the variables include initial outlay, variable costs, incremental fixed costs, sales value, sales volume, savings, scrap value, cost of capital, or project life. Those are what we call variables, okay? These are variables. So you want to know what is the percentage change in cost of capital that will make the projects become unviable? What's the percentage change in initial outlay that will make the project not viable again? So these are the things that sensitivity analysis measure, and is very practical. It's very practical. So whatever percentage you attain at the end of the day is what that will make the project break even. So what that means is that any points below or above that point, about your sensitivity margin, then it means that the project will become unviable. Okay? Therefore, how do you then calculate sensitivity margin? There are three different formulas that you can use to calculate sensitivity margin depending on the variables you want to calculate. For all the variables, excluding cost of capital as well as the project life, then the sensitivity margin of that variable is calculated as the ratio of NPV to the present value of the variable. Okay, we are going to divide NPV with the variables, with the PV of the variable. We multiply with 100%. However, if you want to calculate sensitivity margin of cost of capital, it's simply internal rate of return minus cost of capital divided by cost of capital multiplied by 100/1. So what this simply means is that when you want to calculate your sensitivity margin, you need to go ahead to first of all calculate the internal rate of return. Once you have the internal rate of return available, then you are very good to go and calculate the sensitivity margin of a cost of capital. Then the last one is formula for calculating sensitivity margin of products life or project life. So the sensitivity margin of project life is calculated as project life minus break-even point of project life divided by the project life multiplied by 100/1. Now, as you can see from this formula for calculating sensitivity margin of project life, we have break-even points of project life. So what that simply means is that you need to go ahead and calculate the sensitivity margin of project life before you can calculate the, you need to calculate the break-even point of project life before you can calculate the sensitivity margin of project life. Therefore, how do you then calculate the sensitivity margin of, how do you calculate the break-even points of project life? When you want to calculate the break-even point of project life, there are three procedures you are supposed to carry out. Let me see, it's not in this material. Let me see, let me write it down here. Okay, calculating break-even points of project life. So there are three procedures. The first step is to reduce the life of the project by 1. Reduce the life of the project by 1. Say, for example, if the life of this project is 5 years, the useful life of the project is 5 years, you minus 1. So you calculate NPV for 4 years. If the life of the project is 3 years, you minus 1. You calculate NPV for 2 years. Okay, so you reduce the life of the project by 1. Step 2, you calculate NPV of the reduced life. Calculate NPV of the reduced life. Okay. Then step 3, you calculate break-even points of project life using the formula below. Okay. So I was trying to say the other time, so our project's life. So we calculated as reduced life plus NPV of reduced life divided by NPV of reduced life plus NPV of the normal life. All of this multiplied by normal life minus reduced life. Just as if you want to calculate our internal rate of return. Okay? So once you are done calculating your break-even point of project life, then you need to proceed to calculating the sensitivity margin of project life. So these are the three procedures that you are going to carry out for calculating break-even point of project life. Now, note that when calculating the break-even points of sales volume, I repeat, when calculating the break-even point of sales volume, the present value of contribution should be used as the denominator. I repeat, when calculating the break-even point of sales volume, the present value of contribution should be used as the denominator. Let me write it down. Note, when calculating the
Can you please go up a bit?
break-even point of, when calculating sensitivity margin, when calculating the sensitivity margin, sensitivity, let me write that. When calculating the sensitivity margin of sales volume, the PV of contribution should be used as the denominator. Will be used as the denominator. That's that. So what that means is that once you get to this PV here, so whenever you want to calculate the present value, or sorry, the sensitivity margin of sales volume, you are supposed to use the present value of contribution as your denominator. So, and that's that. So let's have illustration to that effect. Let's have illustration for.
Sir, please, how do we get the material?
I've shared with you since last week now. You have it. You have access to it. Okay.
Sorry, what topic, please? Is it the business combination you sent recently?
Prosper. Should we started together a few minutes ago? It's a risk and uncertainty. We had risk and uncertainty last week. We did not complete it. We did only expected value, standard deviation, and coefficient of variation. So there are still other areas we need to cover. So this is just a continuation of risk and uncertainty. Okay.
All right, sir. Okay. All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So let's have illustration under sensitivity margin. So please, I need somebody to read for us illustration number 3, Tinapa PLC. Tinapa PLC. Who will help us to read? Who is B?
Tinapa PLC has sought your advice. Deborah.
Thank you, Debbie. Go ahead.
Tinapa PLC has sought your advice as a financial consultant on its investment proposal. It plans to diversify into the production of toilet soap. You are provided the following information relating to the proposal. The initial investment in plant and equipment will cost 4.8 million naira. The plants are expected to have a lifespan of 10 years with negligible scrap value. The company plans to maintain a minimum of 80% of installed capacity each year. At this activity level, 240,000 units are expected to be produced. The annual production overhead, excluding depreciation, is estimated at 360,000 naira. While variable cost is planned at 18 naira per unit, the market research carried out favors setting the selling price at 24 naira per unit. The company's cost of capital is 17%. You are required to advise whether the investment proposal is worthwhile. Calculate the tolerable level at which the following can vary without any adverse effect on the investment proposal: initial investment cost, production cost, sales price, sales volume, variable cost, production life, cost of capital. Analytic formula is given. All figures are assumed correct.
Thank you very much. So that is the question. Number A, you are asked to advise whether the investment proposal is worthwhile, meaning that you are to calculate the net present value. I will stop sharing this and move to the working notes. Okay, this is where we stopped last time. Okay. The name of this company is Tinapa. So I would then say this is solution. So illustration. Which illustration is this? Illustration number 3. Tinapa PLC. Illustration number 3. Tinapa PLC. Number A. You are required to calculate NPV. So calculating net present value. Create a column for year, description of item, cash flow, discount factor, at. Let's go to the question, what's the cost of capital? The company cost of capital as given is 17%. Thank you. Here is 17%. Present value. Year zero. Initial outlay. According to the question, the initial outlay is 4,800,000. That's initial investments. 4,800,000. Our figures are in thousands. So multiply by 1, 4,800. So I will go back to the question. I need cash inflow. So according to the question, we are given a selling price of 24 naira. We are also given a variable cost of 8 naira. In that case, I can determine contribution. So I need to go and do my working for contribution. My sensitivity margin, this is NPV. This is NPV, part of sensitivity margin. Then let me go to my working will be here. Working number 1, contribution. So contribution equal to selling price minus variable cost per unit. Selling price is 24 naira, variable cost is 18 naira. Therefore, contribution per unit is equal to 6 naira. Now that I have the contribution per unit, I need to calculate total contribution. The total contribution will then be equal to number of units multiplied by contribution per unit. And we are given number of units to be 240,000. We are told that at this activity level, 240,000 units are expected to be produced. So that means the units produced is the same thing that were sold. Therefore, 240,000 units multiplied by contribution per unit of 6 naira. This gave 1,440,000. 1,440,000. Therefore, I need to go up there and put in my contribution. So, contribution, annual contribution, 1,440,000. I will then check for the question, what's the useful life of these projects? We are told that the plants are expected to have a lifespan of 10 years with a negligible scrap value. So the useful life is 10 years. So from year 1 to 10, the contribution is constant at 1,440,000. Please go ahead and give me annuity factor year 1 to 10 at 17%. What do you have? Annuity factor at 17% for year 1 to 10. Yes. What's the annuity factor?
4.6586.
4.659.
Okay.
Pardon?
Yes, correct, approximately.
Okay then. Then you also have production costs. Production cost. We are told it's 360,000 annually. So year 1 to 10, multiply by 4.659. So give to me the present value. What's the present value? Yes.
6709 for contribution.
6709.
1677 approximately.
1677. The final answer. What's our NPV? 6709 minus 48 minus 1677.
232.
232. Because our NPV is positive, examiner is asking us to advise whether the investment proposal is worthwhile. So because our NPV is positive, it means that the investment proposal is worthwhile. I would then say the investments proposal is worthwhile, considering the positive NPV of 232,000 naira. Okay, that's that. Then number B part of the question, you have to calculate the tolerable level at which the following can vary without any adverse effect on the investment proposal. So examiner mentioned tolerable level. You should know that this represents this particular question related to sensitivity margin or sensitivity analysis. So the first variable given to us is initial investment cost. Therefore, I would then say B, Roman figure 1, sensitivity. Sorry, I think my network here is somehow bad. That's why we're having breaking transmission. So let's continue. Let me reshare my screen. Okay. So we want to calculate sensitivity margin of initial investments. So which should be calculated as the net present value divided by the present value of initial investments multiplied by 100 over 1. So NPV is 232. The PV of initial investments is 4,800. PV of initial investment is 4,800. Therefore, divide by 4,800 multiplied by 100 over 1. So what's the answer? 232 divided by 48 equal, multiplied by 100 equal to 4.8%. This is equal to 4.8%. Whenever you calculate your sensitivity margin of variable, you need to interpret your results. You must interpret the results that you have gotten. So there are two ways of interpretation. If you are referring to cash inflow, including project life, then your interpretation should be that the percentage, the variable should not be allowed to fall below the percentage attained, otherwise the project will not be viable. If you are referring to cost, like initial outlay, okay, variable cost, incremental fixed cost, or cost of capital, then your interpretation should be that the percentage attained should not be allowed to go beyond or to increase. So we need to interpret our answer. So like I was trying to tell you that if you want to, if the variable that you want to calculate, the sensitivity margin of the variable you want to calculate includes something like cash outflow, like initial outlay, variable cost, cost of capital, incremental fixed cost, then the interpretation should be that the percentage attained should not be allowed or should not increase beyond, otherwise the project will not be accepted. Like in this case, we just calculated the sensitivity margin of initial investment to be 4.8%. This means that the extent to which the NPV can accommodate any change in initial investment is 4.8. This simply means that if you increase the initial investment of 4.8 million by 4.8%, the project NPV will be equal to 0 because that is the maximum. Anything beyond this 4.8, if you do 4.9, the project NPV will be negative. So that is the tolerable extent to which your initial investment can increase is 4.8%. Therefore, I would then say, I need to interpret my results. I would then say the initial investments should not increase beyond 4.8%. If not, the initial investments or the investment proposal will not be viable. You know, our initial decision is that the investment proposal is worthwhile and should be considered. So in this case, if the initial investment increased beyond 4.8%, then it means that the investment proposal will not be viable. So let's go to another variable, high. According to the question, another variable is production cost. So sensitivity margin of production cost equal to the NPV of 232 is the same formula of 232 divided by present value of production cost, which is 1677. Look at this is production cost, the present value of production cost. Don't come and be putting a negative, say 1677 in brackets. No, just ignore the percent of the brackets. So multiply by 100/1. In this case, I would then say 232 divided by 1677 equal, that's 13.8%. Here is 13.8%. So these have the same interpretation as initial investment because this is a cost. I would then say the production cost should not increase beyond 13.8%. Otherwise, the investment proposal will not be viable. So we are done with production cost. Move to the next one, sales price. Number 3, high. Sensitivity margin of sales price. Which is equal to NPV of 232 divided by the present value of sales price. We don't have present value of sales price in our calculation, so we need to go and do working for PV of sales price. Working number 2, present value of sales price. So before I can get the present value of sales price, I need to know my sales. Therefore, I would then say sales price equal to the number of units is 240,000 multiplied by selling price per unit. The selling price per unit is 24 naira. Therefore, what do you get? 240,000 units multiplied by 24 naira.
5,760,000.
Thank you. 5,760,000. That's the sales value. Okay. Then, now that I have the sales value, I need to calculate the PV of sales value. I would then say PV of sales price would then be equal to 5,760,000 multiplied by annuity factor of year 1 to 10, which is 4.659. What do you have here, please? What do you have? 5,760 multiplied by 4.659 equal 26,835. 26,835, 840. So this represents the PV of sales volume. Since our numbers are restricted to 1,000, that will be 26,836. So 26,836. So divide by 26,836. Multiply by 100 over 1 equal. Bring out your calculator. 232 divided by 26,836 equal. Multiply by 100 equal. That's, let me do that again. 232 divided by 26,836 equal. Then multiply by 100 equal. That's 0.9%. Here is 0.86% or 0.9. Okay? This means that our sales price should not reduce below 0.86%. I would then say the sales price should not fall below 0.86%. If not, the investments proposal will not be viable or will become unviable. That's that. Number 4. According to the question, sensitivity margin of sales volume. Sensitivity margin of sales volume, which is NPV divided by the PV of contribution. So 232 divided by 6709 multiply by 100 over 1. So what do you have there? 232 divided by 6709. So multiply by 100. That's 3.46%. Here is 3.46%, which means that the sales volume should not be allowed to fall below 3.46%. The sales volume should not fall or decrease below 3.46%. Otherwise, the projects will not be acceptable, will not be accepted. Then number 5, sensitivity margin of variable cost. Sensitivity margin of variable costs, which is NPV of 232 divided by the PV of variable cost. Again, we don't have in our calculation, we don't have PV of variable cost. So we need to go and do working for PV of variable cost. Working number 3, present value of variable cost. Variable cost equal to 240,000 units multiplied by variable cost per unit of 18 naira. So this will give us 240,000 multiplied by 18 naira. 4320, thank you. 4320,000. So the PV of variable cost will then be equal to 4320,000 multiplied by annuity factor of 4.659 equal multiplied by 4.659. 20 million 126,880. Therefore, I will then restrict my number since we are restricting our number to thousands. So this will be 120. This will be 20,127 divided by 20,127. Here is 20,127 multiplied by 100 over 1 equal. So 232 divided by 20,127 equal multiplied by 100 equal 1.15%, 1.15%. So that's our sensitivity margin of variable costs. I would then say the variable costs should not increase beyond 1.15%. Otherwise, the proposal will not be accepted. Number 6, sensitivity margin of product life. Sensitivity margin of product life is calculated as product life minus break-even points of product life divided by product life. multiplied by 100 over 1. So, product life is 10 years minus break-even points of product life. I don't know the break-even point of product life, so we need to go and calculate that. I need to go and do my working on break-even point of product life. Working number 4. I explained to you earlier today to calculate the break-even points of product life. Calculating the break-even point of product life. There are 3 procedures. Break-even point of product life. There are 3 procedures you are supposed to carry out. One is to reduce the life of the project by 1. Then 2, calculate the NPV of the reduced life. Then 3, calculate the break-even point of product life. Therefore, item cash flow discount factor at 17%. PV year 0. The life of the project is 10 years. So reduce by 1. Now we calculate 1 to 9 years. 1 to 9 years. Initial investments, contribution, then production cost. Here is 4,800. 1,440, then 360. Here is 1. Here is 4,800. I need somebody to give me annuity factor of year 1 to 9 at 17%. Annuity factor. Yes. What's the annuity factor? Year 1 to 9 at 17%.
4.451. 4505.
4.451. 451. Thank you, Debbie. Okay, so I need to multiply 1440 multiplied by 4.451 equal 6409. Here is 6409. 360 multiplied by 4.451 equal 1602. 1602. So I would then say 6409 minus 4800 minus 1602 equals 7. Our NPV of the reduced life is 7. Now that I have the NPV of the reduced life, I need to move to step 3, which says calculate break-even points of project life. Therefore, break-even points of project life equal to reduced life plus NPV of reduced life over NPV of reduced life plus NPV of normal life multiplied by normal life minus reduced life, internal rate of return. Therefore, equal to reduced life is 9 years. We have reduced from 10 years to 9 years. So NPV of the reduced life is 7 divided by 7 plus NPV of normal life, 232, multiplied by normal life of 10 minus reduced life of 9. Therefore, 7 divided by 239 equal, multiply by 1 equal, plus 7 equal, that's 7.03, sorry, plus 9, that's 9.03. Here is 9.03 years. That represents the break-even point of product life. Now that I have the break-even point of product life, I need to go and calculate the sensitivity margin of the product life. So I would then say 10 minus 9.03 divided by 10 multiplied by 100 over 1. Final answer. 10 minus 9.03 equal, divided by 10 equal, multiplied by 100. That's 9.7%. 9.7%. So this means that the project life should not fall below 9.7%. So I will say the product life should not reduce below 9.7%. Otherwise, the investment proposal will not be viable, or will become unviable, or will not be accepted, however you want to put it. Okay. Lastly, number 7.
Sir, please,
Yeah.
can you back up a little on the
What's
calculation
that?
of sensitivity margin of product life?
Yes. What about it?
So I didn't get the formula. I want to copy it down.
Oh, okay. Are you done?
Yes, I'm done. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So the last one, sensitivity margin of cost of capital. Sensitivity margin of cost of capital is calculated as internal rate of return minus cost of capital divided by cost of capital multiplied by 100 over 1. So from this formula, since we have internal rate of return, so I need to first of all go ahead and calculate internal rate of return. Then I will come back to calculating the sensitivity margin. So that will be working number 5. Working number 5, I want to calculate internal rate of return. In this case, I need to assume, remember, to calculate internal rate of return, there are 3 stages, 3 procedures. One is to assume 2 discount rate that will produce 2 opposing NPV. Then 2, you calculate internal rate of return using the IRR formula. Then 3, you advise. But in this case, we are not advising anything. Therefore, I'll be working towards using the first NPV calculated of 232 as my first discount rate at 17%. Therefore, let's assume 20% and see. Assume 20%. So I will then use this 20% to calculate NPV. So here, item, cash flow, discount factor at 20%, then PV. Here 0, 1 to 10, 1 to 10. Initial investments, contribution, then production costs. 4,800, 1,440, then 360. So please go ahead, give me annuity factor of year 1 to 10 at 20%.
4.19.
4.192. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Is that what you are saying?
Yes, sir.
All right, then. So let's multiply. Yes. Here is 1,509.
0.4.
I can't hear you.
6036.48.
6036.4.
36.48.
So that's 6036. So what do you now have? 6036 minus 48 minus 1,509 equal negative
Minus
272.
273.
273 negative. That's NPV. So I will then calculate my internal rate of return, IRR, equal to lower discount rates plus NPV of lower discount rates divided by NPV of lower plus NPV of higher multiplied by higher minus lower. So IRR will then be equal to, I assume 17% and 20%. So 70% is lower plus NPV of that 17 is 232 divided by 232 plus NPV of higher, which is 273 multiplied by higher of 20 minus lower of 17. So finally, what do you have as IRR? 232 divided by 510. Is it 510 or 505? Whatever. What's the final answer? 232 divided by 545 equal, multiply by 3 equal, plus 17. What do you get? Yes. Two 32 divided by 505 equal, multiply by 3 equal, plus 17 equal. That's 18.38. 18.38%. So now that I have my internal rate of return, I need to go ahead and calculate my sensitivity margin of cost of capital. So I will then come here 18.38 minus cost of capital of 17% over 17% multiplied by 100 over 1. So finally, 18.38 minus 17 equal, divided by 17 equal, multiplied by 100 equal 8.1%. Here is 8.1%. So which means that the cost of capital should not be allowed to increase beyond 8.1%. The cost of capital should not increase beyond 8.1%. If not, the proposer will not be accepted. That's that. So we are done with sensitivity analysis. Let me know if you have any question for me before we go to, at least if you cannot do decision tree today, we have to do simulation. So let me know if you have any question on based on what we have done so far. So if there are no questions, so let's move on to the next one. So let's talk about, I will stop sharing this. Then move to simulation. So let's talk about simulation. Okay. So simulation is also known as probabilistic simulation. Is an analysis done by running an random number of different variables through a model to determine the different outcomes. So simulation is a model designed principally to mimic a real-life situation using probability of different outcomes in a process that cannot be easily be predicted through random variables. So when you want to determine, when calculating expected net present value using simulation, the most important thing to do is to simulate each variables of inflows and outflow of resources. Then, using the simulated result to go and compute the NPV. The result is called the expected NPV using simulation. I repeat, when you want to calculate expected NPV using simulation, the first thing you need to do is to simulate for each variable. For example, you may be given revenue, you may be given a cost. So we are going to simulate for revenue separately. You also simulate for running costs separately. Then you now use your simulated result to go and compute NPV. The result is called expected NPV using simulation. Now, the only challenge, one of the limitations of simulation is that simulation cannot produce optimal solution, but good enough or near optimal solution. This is because not all variables, not all cash flows will be well represented, okay? You are just going to be selecting the cash flows on the basis of the random number given to you. So as a result, all the cash flows are not considered. Therefore, you cannot produce, the method cannot produce optimal solution. It can only give a good enough or near optimal solution. Now, how do you then simulate? When you want to simulate, there are 5 columns that are supposed to carry out. Say, for example, you want to simulate for receipts. So I will say simulating for receipts. Simulating for receipts. So we are going to create 5 columns. Column 1 is the receipts. Column 2 is for probability. Column 3 is the cumulative of probability in percentage. Then column 3 is random allocation. Random allocation. Then column 5 is a random number. The random number may be given to you. So these are the 5 columns that you are going to create whenever you want to calculate, whenever you want to simulate. In most cases, students will find it difficult to simulate if you are not, for example, if you are not in class to see the way we are going to be picking the numbers. Because when you are simulating, you are going to be using random numbers to do your selection. So anybody that is not available will find it difficult to understand. Okay then, so that's that. So you are going to do the same format is what you are going to use for payments. Either receipt or payment is the same format. So at this point, let's quickly have illustration, and that will be all for today. Let me stop share. Okay, before I stop sharing, let's go to illustration. So let's solve illustration number 6. Yes, Prosper, read.
Illustration 6. Networks Pro Limited has prepared the following probability estimates for a proposed investment project. Initial outlay, year 0, 1. Okay. Cost of capital is 12% required. Calculate the net present value of the project. 2. Analyze the risk inherent in this situation by stimulating the net present value calculation. You should use the random numbers given at the end of the question to stimulate 3 sets of cash flows. On the basis of your stimulation results, what is the expected net present value? C. Explain briefly why the expected net present value calculated in A and the one calculated in B may not necessarily be the same.
Thank you. That is the question. In the A requirements, you have to calculate the expected NPV. This is very simple. For you to get the expected NPV, you are going to first of all calculate expected revenue, because in the question examiner has given to you probability. Therefore, you calculate expected revenue. We also calculate the expected running cost. So you now use the expected revenue and expected running cost to go and calculate your NPV. The result is called expected NPV. So quickly, without wasting time, let's do that, so that in the next few minutes, we are done with this calculation. So solution to illustration number 6. Solution to illustration 6. The name of the company is Networks Pro Limited. We're asked to calculate NPV. Number A, calculating expected net present value. So I need to go and calculate expected revenue, then expected running cost. So on this first page will be my solution. Then for simulation, then let's see how many sets number. There are 3 sets number given to us. So I will calculate NPV for each set. Okay, I think this should be sufficient. Let's go to the 3rd page for workings. Working number 1. I want to calculate expected revenue. So I'll create column for probability, revenue, then expected revenue. So go back to the question. What's the probability of revenue? 0.15, 0.4, 0.15, 0.4, 0.3, 0.15, 0.3, 0.15. As usual, the network went off. Let's continue. So I will go and pick the revenue. 40, 50, 55, 60. 40, 50, 55, 60. Let me confirm. Yeah, that's it. Therefore, we need to multiply. So 0.15 multiplied by 40,000. 6,000. 0.4 multiplied by 50,000. 20,000. Points 3 multiplied by 55,000. 16.5. 0.15 multiplied by 60. 9,000. I need to add up. This is my expected value. I need to add up. Therefore, 26,009 plus 16.5 plus 26,000. Now 51,500. 51,500 is the expected revenue. I need to calculate expected running cost. You can divide this page into two. Expected running cost. Probability, running cost, expected value. Probabilities are 0.4, 0.25, 0.35. 0.4, 0.25, 0.35. Here is one. What are the running costs? 25, 30, 35. 25, 30, 35. I need to multiply 0.4 multiplied by 25 equal 10,000 naira. 0.25 multiplied by 30,000 equal 75. 0.35 multiplied by 35,000, 12,250. Add it up. That's a 29, 750. So now that I have the expected revenue and the expected running cost, I can proceed to calculating my NPV. So 51,500, 29,750. So I create a column for year, description of items, cash flow, discount factor at, according to the question, what is cost of capital? 12%. Here is 12%. Present value. So initial outlay equal to 40,000. Multiply by 1, 40,000. So year one, what's the useful life of the projects? 5 years. So year 1 to 5. Year 1 to 5. Expected revenue. Expected revenue 51,500. Year 1 to 5. Expected running cost 29,750. So I need to calculate annuity factor year 1 to 5 at 12%. What do you have? Annuity factor year 1 to 5 at 12%. Pardon?
6047.
Say it again.
3.6047.
605. 3.605. So multiply. What's the present value?
18.
Yes.
5657.
Your voice is not clear. Debbie, your voice is not clear, it's low.
185,668.
185,000.
658.
658. Multiply by 3.605. Okay, 185,658. The second one, 29,750 multiplied by 3.605.
107429.
107,429. 249. 107,249. So 249. Yeah. So what's our NPV? 30 watts. What's the NPV? I'm not sure. 38.
409.
Did you say 40? Okay, 409. Thank you. I'm not sure Fidelis is online. Fidelis, if you are available, say hi.
Hi, sir.
I thought maybe you have gone to watch ball because I've not heard of us since. It's okay. Let's
Yes, sir.
continue. So now that we have the expected as required, we have calculated the expected NPV. So let's go to B part of the question. In the B part of the question, You are required to analyze the risk inherent in this situation by simulating the NPV calculations using the random number given. So when I ask, on the basis of the simulation result, what is the expected NPV? So you want to calculate expected NPV using simulation method. Very simple. What am I supposed to do? The first thing first is for you to simulate for each of the variables. In this case, we have two variables, revenue and running cost. Therefore, I will say B1. There are procedures. I need to first of all simulate. I need to simulate for, well, I can use it, I can go and calculate my, okay, no need for that. Simulating for revenue. So I want to calculate simulation. I want to simulate for revenue. So I will create 2 columns, 5 columns, one for revenue, one for probability, cumulative of probability in percentage. I will create a column for random allocation. Then I will create a column for random number. So for the revenue, the first year revenue is, the first revenue given is 50,000, 40, 50, 55. Here is 40, 50, 55, and then 60,000 naira. Probability 0.15, 0.4, 0.3, 0.15. Let me confirm. Correct. Then I need to find the cumulative of the probability in percentage. The first probability is 15%. 15 plus 40 will give me 55. 55 plus 30 will give me 85. 85 plus 15 will give me 100%. So I need to determine random allocation. We are starting from 0, 0 to using your cumulative of probability to find your random allocation. So 1 minus 15 will give me 14. After 14 is 15. 1 minus 55 will give me 54. After 54 is 55. 1 minus 85 will give me 84. After 84 is 85. 85 to 99. So this is random allocation, just like class interval. Then I need to go and determine the position for the random number given to me. I will go back to the question. Yes.
So why did we start from 14? 0 to 14?
It's just a concept, just a procedure of calculating it. All right.
In every case, we should start with 0
Yes.
to 14. Okay.
It's not 0 to 14. It's not 0 to 14. You are using the cumulative of the probability given to you. The cumulative of this probability is what you are going to use to determine your random allocation. So we are starting, the first cumulative of probability is 15. You minus 1 from 15, that's 14. You minus 1 from, after 14 is 55. Minus 1 from 55, you get 54. That's what we are going to do for all of them. It's not that at all times you are going to start from 14. So whatever the first figure of your probability, the first figure of your probability will determine what you are going to have there. Say, for example, the first probability is 20. If you have 20 here, 0, 0 to 19. Do you get that?
Yes, sir.
If the first probability is 30, so say 0, 0 minus 1 minus 30 will 29. 0, 0 to 29. That's how you are going to do for it, for them, for everything. All right. So let's determine the random allocation, sorry, the random number. According to the question, we have been given random number for sets 1 to 3. So for revenue, set 1 is 30. Set 1 is 30 for revenue. Now, when you want to select your random numbers, you want to know where the random number will fall into. That means you are going to use the random allocation to determine where to place the place the random number. So according to the question, for set 1, random number given for revenue is 30. So of all your random allocation, where can you find 30? 30 is somewhere here. Then the next one, after 30 is 20. Where can you find 20? 20 is the same place. And the next one is 94. Where can you find, sorry, 79. Where can you find 79? 79 is somewhere here. With this, I've simulated for revenue. I will then go ahead and do the same thing for running costs. On this page, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let me manage this space. So simulating for running costs. Okay, so I'll pick the running costs, probability, cumulative, or probability in percentage. I'll pick random allocation, then I'll pick random number. Okay. The running cost given to us in the question is 25, 30, 35. 25,000, 30, 35. Then the probability, 0.4, 0.25, 0.35. 0.4, 0.25, 0.35. Find the cumulative of the probability in percentage. The first probability is 40. 40 plus 25, 65. 65 plus 35 is 100. Random allocation. For the random allocation, we are starting from 0, 0 to 1 minus 40 will give us 39. After 39 is 40 to 64, then 65 to 99. Then I will then go back to the set number given to me for random numbers. Sets for random numbers for running costs. So 71 is the first one. Random number is 71. I will look at my random allocation. Where can I find 71? 71 will fall in this place. The next one is 0, 0. 0, 0 will fall here. And the last one is 94. 94 will fall here. Again, with this, I've simulated for running costs. Now that I've simulated for running costs or for each of the variables, then I need to go ahead and calculate expected NPV set by set. Because we have 3 set numbers, so we are going to be pairing the simulation for each variable, simulation for inflow and outflow together for each set. In this case, I will then come here calculating expected net present value. Set 1. So create column for year, item, cash flow, discount factor at 12%. I think, let me confirm it. What's the cost of capital given? Yes, 12%. Then PV, year 0, useful life is 5 years. So initial outlay, how much are we investing? Initial outlay is 40,000. Multiply by 1, 40,000. So revenue. I will then go back to the question, to our calculation about for set 1, revenue as well as the running cost. Like I said, when you want to calculate your NPV, you are going to be pairing inflow and outflow of resources set by set. For set 1, what is the random number for revenue? For set 1, the random number for revenue is 30. You then go to your calculation. Where do you have 30? 30 is here. We have 30 here. So you trace it to where you have revenue. Revenue is 50. So go and put it there. Here is 50,000. Running costs. Set 1. Random number is 71. So 71 is here. Here is 71 for running cost. Trace it to where you have running cost, 35. So you come and put 35,000. So here still remain as 3.605, 3.605. So let's multiply quickly. So 35,000 multiplied by 3.605. 126, 175. Say 180 what? Yes? Debbie, you were saying something.
180 to 50.
250. So final answer, what's our NPV? What's our NPV? Yes.
14,075.
14075. Thank you, Debbie. The 0, 1 to 5, 1 to 5. Running cost. So for set 2, we go back to the question. For set 2, what's the random number? Random number for revenue is 20. So I will then go to my simulation for revenue. Where does 20 lies? Here is 20 in the same place, 50,000 naira. So here is 50,000 naira. So I'll do the same thing for running costs. Set 2. Random number for running costs is 00. So 00 is here. Then trace it to where you have running costs, which is 25,000. $3.605 3.605. Here is 180,250. Then 25,000 multiplied by,
9125.
okay, 9125. Thank you.
NPV is 5125.
5125. That's the NPV. So I will do for set 3. If you have 10 sets, if you are given 10 sets in the question, that means you are going to calculate 10 separate NPV. Set 3. But thank God, this is just 3 sets. So, item, cash flow, discount factor, PV. Here 0, 1 to 5, 1 to 5. Initial outlay, revenue, running cost. 40,000. 40,000. So I will go to set 3. Random number for set 3. 79 for revenue. 79 for revenue. Where can I find 79? 79 is here, which is 55,000. Here is 55,000. 3.605. Then for running costs, set 3, random number is 94. Where can I find 94? 94 is here, so which is 35,000 naira. $35,000. 3.605. Let's multiply. What do you have? What's your present value? Here is 126, 125. Yes, what's your present value for revenue? $55,000 multiplied by 3.605 equal 198,275. Minus 40,000 minus 126, 125, 32,150. Here is 32,150 NPV. You can see that we have calculated 3 different sets of NPV. So we need to find the average NPV, average expected NPV. Therefore, average expected net present value would then be equal to the NPV of the first set, which is 14,075. 14,075 plus NPV of set 2, 50,125 plus NPV of the third set, 32,150. We added 3 variables, 3 numbers together, then we divide it by 3. Final answer plus 50,125 plus 14,075 equal 96,350. Here is 96,350 divided by 3. So that will give me 32,000. Finish. Something is wrong. Let me do it again. I have 14,075,
32,117.
82.
117.
Are you sure it's 82?
32.
If you want,
32,117.
okay, 32117. 32,117. Okay. So let's check. Let's check the answer we got for. Let's check the answer we got for this set 3. Let's check the answer for set 3. 35,000 multiplied by 3.605 equal 35,000 multiplied by 3.605 equal 126,175. Sorry, this one's supposed to be 175. What do I have up there? Oh, it's 175. It's my mistake. So if that is the case, plus 40,000 equal then minus 198,275 equal 32,100. This one's supposed to be 32,100. So 32,100. 32,100 plus 50,125 plus 14,075
96,300.
equal 96,300. So 96,300 divided by 3 will give us
32,100.
32,100. Thank you. So the expected NPV is 32,100. The expected NPV is 32,100 naira. So that is for that. This is not the end of the question. This is not the end of the question. So examiner is now asking you, finally, number C. Examiner is asking you to explain briefly why the NPV calculated in A and the one calculated in B may not necessarily be the same. Why are the NPVs not the same? Because it's the same expected NPV. In the A parts, the expected NPV we computed was 38,408 naira. Whereas in the B, the expected NPV was 32,100. Why are they not the same? That's what the examiner is asking you. So to answer that number C requirements, I would then say the expected NPV calculated in A and B above may not be the same because different methods are employed. Full stop. In the A above, the expected value method is used, whereas in the B above, Whereas in the B above, simulation method is used to calculate the expected net present value. However, it should be noted that the expected NPV calculated using the simulation method will not produce the optimal solution, but good enough or near optimal solution. So that's the end of the question. Please let me know. Let me know if you have any question for me. Let me know if you have any question for me. So if there is no further question, this is where we are going to call it a day for today. We have decision tree as the outstanding scope under risk and uncertainty. So we cannot do that one tonight. Otherwise, you are going to lose interest because it's tedious. Okay? So we are going to use fresh energy in our next class to do that. All right then. So tomorrow, by the grace of God, we are going to be starting business valuation. Like as communicated previously, we are combining all of you together. So you must be available as early as, as scheduled. So just be available as scheduled so that we can cover as much as possible. All right. So thank you guys for your time and understanding. I will see you next time by the grace of God. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Good night. You're welcome.